I bought this AMGO PRO12SX. They're located in Manning, South Carolina, so I drove down there. There's the truck, and I rented that trailer from Sunbelt Rental for about $40 for the day. And these are the videos that I use to help unload that lift off the trailer. And these guys had it down to a fine science, everyone. Jack up the end that's on the truck, put a dolly under it, and once you put that dolly under it, then you can jack up the other end, and that dolly and your buddy can push that lift off to wherever you're trying to load it, as they're showing this video where they unloaded it in the garage. And this is the part I was talking about, where they're going to lift that end up. Once you lift that end up, once that part, that long part, has been pushed off, you can see they just drive right off. Makes it a piece of cake, everyone. I have done that, and I have the lift here at the house now. So let's go ahead and cut the paper / wrapping off and get this thing unwrapped. I am by myself, and I'm going to knock this thing out. I'm going to keep this video short, so hopefully it will help out some folks, as I've used videos, and I'm sure you have too, with YouTube to help out. So it's packed real nicely. Cardboard is keeping everything from getting all scratched up. And as you can see, there's the ramps, the posts, and everything, and it's all bolted to a steel crate. So what I'm doing now is cutting off those straps so that I can start unloading and lay out everything. Once I get everything laid out, everyone, then I'm going to start putting this bad boy together. As you can see on the very top, we have the ramps. They're easy to identify. They're in yellow. And then right under those ramps, you have the posts. Along with that, if you look at the cardboard box to the right, that has the pump in it. And those ramps, for me, they're upside down. So I need to get those right side up, and I will do that in the video. Here's the parts that go down and catch the latches, and you'll see that when I get ready to get to that area. Those little latches catch when you start jacking it up. I want to say about every 4 or 5 inches, it will grab one of those latches. And of course, with it being called a 4-post lift, those are the posts that I'm taking off now. That was post number 1, and we'll go ahead and grab post number 2, and then we'll proceed on with post number 3 and 4. Hopefully I didn't cut too much out, that everybody understands it. Most people that are going to probably put this together halfway are mechanically inclined. For me, here's the bolts that you need to unbolt off of that crate part that's holding it. For me, everyone, they were going to charge about $1,400 to deliver it, and they were going to charge about $1,500 to have it put together. So I'm doing it myself. There's the post layout, and I'm getting everything laid out so that we can put it together. Harbor Freight allowed me to give them about $300 and something, and they gave me that lift there, and I'm jacking it up with the various straps that I also bought from Harbor Freight. Again, I'm doing this by myself, and at no time was it too much for one person. Yeah, it would be a whole lot easier with 2, because that way sometimes you have to stop and swing things, whereas if someone was helping you, they're doing the swinging for you. But again, I managed to do it all by myself, and that's just how it is. So this is one of the ramps that I'm talking about. It's upside down. I need it to be the other way around, and this is how I did it. I just took some of those straps and just made it bind like a hanging loose, and just did it that way, and you can see it flips right on over. Nice heavy piece of steel, where the engine horse or cherry picker, depending on which your terminology prefers to do. From here we have the 2 posts laid out, and we're putting that piece in the middle. That piece in the middle has the holes in it, and make sure those holes are turned to the inside, as you can see before the video left. Now we're grabbing another one of those posts. Those posts could probably be picked up, those columns there probably could be picked up with 2 people, but again, with me being by myself, there was no need to do any straining. I just let that Pittsburgh engine hoist do all the work. So I'm going to take that one over there and get it laid out. And what you're wanting to do is slide that right in between your posts. And the posts are not anchored down at this point. I will anchor those down. And you can for me, I just slid the posts apart, put one end in, and then just slid the other end in. Worked out pretty great doing it that way. I have quite a few car lift stands, so that's what I'm lifting it up on there, so I don't have to pick it up quite as far. Plus you can have your fingers under it and just grab it if it's already off the ground. You know, sometime when it's on the ground it takes a little bit more. Here's the parts list, everyone, as far as the bolts and nuts and various things like that. And it came with the thunder studs, it came with shims to align everything. And here we have, I'm showing you the thunder studs there. My concrete is 6 inches deep and it is 4,000 psi. But I do recommend don't drill within 6 or 8 inches of an expansion joint or the edge of it. You don't want to bust that concrete out. And I'm showing the little stops that you'll use to stop the vehicle from rolling forward or backing in. I have a Black & Decker laser. That's how I got mine square, everyone. You can lay it out and do the measurements. They show you the measurements in the manual where you can lay it out and get a certain dimensions, do the 2, 3, 4, or is it 3, 4, 5 method to get it square. Again, I just used that Black & Decker laser and I looked, and you can see how I'm doing it. From there, everyone, I'm getting ready to drill the anchors and get this bad boy mounted on into the ground. Some lifts you get, you know, people don't mount them. I don't think it's a preference whether you mount it or not, but this particular lift doesn't come with casters. I don't even know if they offer casters for it. I am going to get some other lifts, so some of the other lifts I get may have casters where I may move them around a little bit, but this one is strictly for the width of it allows me to be able to pull my truck in without pulling the mirrors in. That was kind of a Benny with me. The lift will lift 12,000 pounds, but I'm not concerned with 12,000 pounds right now. These little bushings here, everyone, kind of give the lift room to not sway side to side as you're jacking it up, so that they'll keep that bad boy centered and everything. So I'm showing what those bad boys look like before you put them on. And then once you put them on with those couple of bolts, I'll also show you how it kind of wedges that little center part from going left or right and wandering on you. So that may be a part that wears out in time. Maybe I'll have to do like some other people do, make a video and come back and talk about that. As you can see, the platforms are on there now. And now I'm getting ready to route those cables. With it being a 4-post lift, each lift has its own cable, and the cables are already in one particular platform. Whatever platform they're in, that one determines the power unit and all of that. The power unit for this one can go in 2 spots, but I decided to move it to a different location, and I'll go over that a little later. So if you've seen other videos, this cable has 2 nuts on it. I've already put the nut on there on one, and then I'm going to stick it up through the hole that they recommend, and then I'm going to tighten that second nut down on there. Again, there's 4 cables. You just get them snug and everything. And then you can go from there. Once you get those cables on there and you actually start jacking it up, you will get this thing synced where it makes one click. Now, it's not going to have one click when you first put it together, and that's as far as jacking it up, everyone. And those latches and locks are going to click at the same time. You'll just need to loosen or tighten cables and things of that nature. But this video is not going to do that, so if you need to know how to sync up those at the end, you know, somebody else out here on YouTube University is going to help you out with that. I'm going to go ahead and step across and go ahead and do the second cable, and then I'm going to cut the video, everyone, because once I've done 2 cables, you'll grab the concept and you'll get those other cables in. But then there will be 2 more to do. So we're getting this one in, and again, like I say, now we're going to proceed on to these catch mechanisms to keep the cable, I would say, tight and everything. It's a limit pin. So once you put that limit pin in there, it's under the bottom of the pulley / cable. So I would imagine that's going to keep that cable from bouncing out. That's what it looks like once you've put it in and everything. And I don't have a good view of inside of it. And now there's a little bracket there that's going to hold your air pressure valve. For this particular lift, I have to have air pressure on it to actually let it down. So there's a little water. They call that an air inlet. They call that an oil water separator manual control valve. So once you get that bad boy in there, I guess you get any water in your system, because you know those hydraulics put out water from time to time, then you can drain it right out the bottom. I put Teflon tape on some of the threads on these various air fittings just because that's the way I do it. I don't know if the manual actually said it. It didn't actually come with any, but just having it around the house from the various projects I've done, I didn't have to do anything. There's a little air valve, everyone. And again, I have to have air pumped into the system, and that air valve will release my locks when I'm ready to let the lift down. It goes up, it doesn't need air at that point, but you will need it to release those locks for this particular lift. It's not one of the lifts where sometimes you see a person pushing the lever with their foot or something like that. This one doesn't operate that way. But again, it's one more thing you have to have, and that's a small compressor or something like that to make this lift work. If that's a stickler for you, you'll need to stick with one of those ones that have the lever. And now that particular oil water separator has been mounted, and you see you got some slotted holes here for the motor. I'm going to go ahead and unbox the motor, but most of us know how those slotted holes work. You can get the bolt through the hole and it will slide down onto the tighter part, basically like a funnel, and then you can not have to hold that thing trying to get those bolts tight. So there's 4 bolts on this and 4 rubber washers, and I would assume those rubber washers are giving it a little bit of dampering and vibration so when that motor's running. This is a 220 unit. So I have it wired. I had this garage built just for me to tinker around with cars. I'm not a mechanic by trade or anything like that, but I like tinkering around. But anyway, there's that little metal washer you see, and it looks like I've skipped to the stops that you're going to use. And you see we cutting it up this video now. There's 2 springs that go on there, everyone. Put both springs on one of the male posts before you before you put them both on. I'll show you a picture of what it looks like before you put them on. But put both of them on. Let's use, for an example, say the yellow post. Put both of them on the yellow post as I'm showing here, and then put them on that red post, because one is going to be on the left and one's going to be on the right. And it just seems like, if I remember correctly, if you do it with one at a time, the other one gets in the way. And there's a little cover, I would imagine, to keep the dust and dirt or whatever out of that pulley mechanism. And the cable takes a couple bolts on there. It also showed in the manual that it needed washers, but mine didn't come with any washers. There's an air valve that has to go down this path that I'm pointing. It's going to go left and right just on this particular side. And there's that T-fitting that I showed earlier. And there's your cables up under there. You will need to remove that pulley. It actually is in your way, so you'll need to remove that. And the book shows you the correct way the cables go, but I'll get to that in just a little bit. Going left to right on what you see right now, there's an air hose that's already installed. You'll need to cut that hose and put that T-fitting in that comes with the kit. So you'll do this end that I'm showing, and then you'll do the end where I'm working it toward that other end. So you'll put that T on there, and that will connect toward the long bar. Once that's connected, now the system has air. It's already locked in for its air on those. And there's a valve they want you to make. That's your oil return line. They want to make sure that's turned up so that it's not interfering with the cables. And I guess it won't actually interfere, it'll just cut it. But anyway, you don't want any chafing or rubbing going on there. And there's a hole there for your various things to go through. And there's another T-fitting that I'm showing there. That's for my air. But again, I had to remove that pulley. Those pulleys are in the way. They're in the way for me to get my hands through there. So I don't know of any other way to do it without that, but they do show you the diagram of the pulley. I'm using that blue painter's tape, and I'm labeling 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm labeling left and right, so that once I get it apart, I don't have to necessarily look back in that manual to make sure I done messed up something. So that's what I'm going through right now. I'm counting off, this one is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, and this one is 4 as such. And then you'll also see, I'll show you on there where I put an L or R, and it's per the way you see it on this video. So if it's on the left, because sometimes a cable may come from the left to the right, and sometimes it may go from the right to the left. So I didn't want to have a cable going in the wrong direction and having to go back and, you know, get on YouTube or something to try to figure it out, even though there's a manual, because sometimes seeing it on a video is a whole lot easier than looking at it in a manual. And then, you know, everybody's talked about sometimes these manuals are put together and they're not the easiest to understand. So that's what was going on there. Now we're getting ready to hook up the air line, and these air lines kind of go on like a brake line does. If you all know the tool that flares it out and will do that, this is doing it via the nut. I guess basically like some old plumbing, when you had a copper on there, it would flare out that little thing. The little nut will do everything, but it has a little male end that you can push down on to that hose, and then from there just snug it up. Even though I'm using that big 12-inch wrench, I didn't try to torque it at 150 pounds. I just made it nice and snug, and I didn't have any leaks with anything, I didn't do anything super tight. I just wanted to do it where I didn't break anything, especially some brass fittings and stuff like that, and then be kind of in a hurt locker. This is the oil return. So when you saw that 90 degree on the pump under there, or that cylinder, that's where that is going. It is going on there, and from there you tighten it down, it'll do that little flare also. And it came with that protective sleeve that I'm showing there, and you feed it through a hole. Now if you got this particular lift, it did not have a hole for me to mount where I'm mounted. I just decided to move the pump over to that side. I'm showing the ramps now. The ramp has got a long, probably 8 or 10 inch brass pin that goes in there and keeps those ramps in place. So when you actually jack the jack up, those ramps are going to stay on there, and it will actually provide a way, I would guess, to keep the car or vehicle from rolling off of it as a stop. Now, the only thing I would think about when you put another vehicle under it, seems like that ramp's going to be in the way. So now trying to lift that 35, 40-pound ramp. Woo! I saw some videos where people bragged about, you know, the ramps only weighed 20 pounds. Now, I personally didn't weigh these. I just know, again, I'm doing all this by myself, and it just seemed like, ooh, this might be a little heavy, taking it off to take a vehicle under it. So there's the same long bed Chevy Silverado you all saw earlier with the Sunbelt rental trailer on it. It's got the long bed on it, and you see it's got the cab that a couple people can sit behind it, basically kids, I guess. But anyway, I'm driving that on there. I edited out some of the times that I stopped. I stopped and make sure I wasn't going to hit anything, and looking to make sure I'm staying on the ramp and things of that nature. So the video, I'm just editing it where it just shows me backing up to stop. And once I get it backed up to stop, then I'm going to check the lift out for raising, lowering it, and things of that nature. So everything proceeds along nicely with that. And as you can see, the mirrors didn't have to be touched or anything like that. I just backed right on up in. And I'm probably maybe about 6 or 8 inches from the wall with that bumper. You know, I measured and everything prior to drilling it in the concrete. But hey, sometimes us do-it-yourselfers will mess up something, and I guess I would have had to do some cutting or whatever, because I would have moved that lift forward if I'd have been hitting the wall or whatever, as far as backing into it and everything. So now all that's looking good and everything. I'm going to pick up the camera, everyone, and kind of give you a view of what it looks like from what I can show you, as far as the front, the sides, and things of that nature. There's a little ramp that I drive up to get to this particular area here. On this garage that I had built, I can come in that area there, that way the truck came, and then there's vehicles that can come in from the other direction. So there's that little ramp I was talking about. So now you can look and see from the left and the right of the vehicle. You know, I put it right up against the wall and so on and so forth. and it fits on there. You know, let me show it from the side, and you can see how much, you know, wheelbase is left. It looks like about another foot or so, foot and a half, maybe from the front. You know, may not, yeah, I would say about a foot. I don't know for sure, but you can see that long bed fits on there. Now we'll go ahead and peep the back end. I can't have a trailer hitch on there, I don't think, but you know, it's the type that, you know, the ball pin, you take that out and everything. But that's what it's looking like there. I bought some oil at Walmart. I want to say it was probably 2 gallons. I put that 2 gallons in it, but once you jack it up, that's where it starts using that fluid. And then when it comes down, it squishes it back into that jug. So I show it here with 2 gallons in it, but I went and got another 2 gallons the next day, and I put another gallon in it, and it sits up a little higher when the vehicle is completely on the ground now. So everything is going great here. It's jacking up, and those various latches are clicking. They're not in sync right now. I have them in sync now, so when it goes up, you basically hear just one click. Every time those latches skip that little square hole, it makes a noise, you know, so it's kind of like a little small shotgun type of noise. Those of you who've been around Lyft, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So now here we go. We got to push that little red button, and it lets it down onto the locking mechanism. So to get it off the locking mechanism, you have to take it back up. So once you take it back up, then I just hold that lever, and I can go back down on the locking mechanism. When I want to come completely down, I have to go back up, push that button, and I have to hold that button. And then I'll hold that lever that I'm holding with my right hand, and I'll bring it all the way down. It goes up pretty quick with 220. I want to say the manual says it's 45 seconds. I'm personally not the guy that's going to time it, y'all, and be on here talking about they say it 45 and it does it in 42 or it does it in 51. That's not my thing. But the manual says 45. For those of you who want to test it, you'll have to test it because I'm not. So now it's coming down. I don't think they give you a come down time. There is a valve on there that you can adjust it to come down faster or slower. I haven't messed with it. Those factory settings to me are good to go for now, and that's what it looks like, everyone. With me putting a 66 Chevy 2 under there, that's going to be another project of mine down the road. So this video is pretty much coming to an end, everyone. Hopefully this helps out someone, because I looked out there online, and the only videos I saw out there on this PRO12SX was just from the company itself. All right,